guys, what's going on? Ed here. You haven't heard from me in a while, and today I wanted to go over some of the stuff that I've picked up recently. Some of you guys may know if you follow me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter now. You should really follow me on Twitter. That's really most active now. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I pretty much go thrift shopping every weekend with my girlfriend. And we go to these big places called Goodwill outlets. And at Goodwill outlets, you get to sift through these huge bins, and there's just random stuff in them that gets trickled down through the systems. They're usually stuff that has been in Goodwills before, and they decide that it's not selling, so they put it in these bins and they send it to these outlets. And these outlets are the very last stop anything in these bins has before it ends up in a landfill. So we do our service to go save these toys and different trinkets that we find every single weekend and rescue them and bring them home. And that being said, there are a lot of Thomas items that get chucked into these bins, and some of them are more common, some of them not. I really just wanted to show off some of the stuff that I've been finding. There are also other kinds of stores called Second Avenue thrift stores. These are these really big thrift stores where they take bunches of stuff, usually themed. You know, the toys are all together with the toys, the electronics and the electronics, etc. And the toys are all grouped together in these plastic bags, and they usually sell the bags from in between $2 to $5 a bag. And if you get lucky, you can find a bag that's just literally filled with Thomas stuff. As you can see down here, there is a lot of stuff that I have to kind of go through and go over. And yeah, it's fun, it's exciting, and I find some really interesting things in there. So over the past month, I've been throwing everything kind of into a pile by my table. So I decided, why not start doing videos on them? So you guys are basically going to see every month everything that I end up picking out during said month, and I'll go over them in a video. So without further ado, let's get into this box. I also will be going over the big collection shelf you see in the background in a different video. There is a ton of stuff on here that I've picked up since the last time you saw one of my haul videos, but I just didn't have the time to do it, and I just really wanted to throw stuff up off my shelves. So anything up here that's new in my collection that I haven't shown off, I'm sorry, but you have my word that from now on, whatever Thomas item I have will be processed through a YouTube video before it goes up into my collection, so you guys can see all the goodies that I end up picking up. And to start this one off, we're going to go over this huge, awesome ton of Golden Bear stuff that I picked up at Second Avenue. So this is part of Golden Bear's My First Thomas range. Made these back in the 90s, I believe, and this is part of the smaller set where you have the smaller characters that ran on this basic playset. I found Thomas, a truck, and Birdie all in separate bags. The station was by itself, and then the bin of track was also completely separate from everything else. So I think that should have a bear in there. I want to be family friendly. The track was all in a bin by itself, and I bought it thinking, great, it must be complete, because it has both the switches that connect to that. So throughout finding all these things separately, I thought I had a complete set, but unfortunately, I'm missing one piece from this. There is a piece of red or yellow track, I believe, that's a crossing gate, and it's supposed to come with this set. Unfortunately, it was not there, and it was not in any of the bags. I've looked frantically for weeks trying to find it, but unfortunately I have not been able to locate it. The station building here is also missing some of the doors and little things that would go on it to, you know, complete the look and whatnot. It has its handle still, which is very cool. So the set again is almost complete. You've got Thomas with some sort of carriage component on him. It's a very, very squeaky one like that, but it's still very cool. He's complete, he has no chips, and it's funny, I've found 3 of these at that 2nd Avenue over the years. The other one is right there up on my shelf. And the 3rd one I gave away to one of my friends when they were over here. So unfortunately, I am missing that one piece of track, but otherwise, you can make circles, you can actually make a basic oval if you use them. You can play around with the switches and have fun with it. And I always wanted one of these as a kid. I never had this type of playset when I was younger. So it's kind of cool to find a cheap way to get it. So I think I spent around under $20 on all of these pieces. Again, remember, I bought all of them separately. The track was separate, the shed was separate, and each one of the characters were all in separate bins. The track also like really nicely stores away in this little shed thing. It's meant to be kind of like a storage container for everything as well. So you can kind of put the track and everything in there, which is really nice. It's a nice little addition that they gave. While you do find a ton of different Thomas engines and toys, you find a lot of stuff that's Thomas themed that isn't necessarily the toys. This is all stuff that I've either dug out of bins or I've found bundled with the toys, or I just found interesting, so I picked it up. This is an old Hit era whistle, it seems. It's got kind of the Hit era characters on it. A kaleidoscope that I found in a bin. It's kind of beat up, but I didn't want to leave it. Just kind of a small party favor. This was an interesting little pouch that I found. I'm not sure if this is actually from anything or not. If anybody knows, I would love to know. But it's just the little fabric pouch of some sort. It's interesting, and it cost me less than 5 cents to get, so I snagged it. Some random Halloween bucket. We've got a ball in here that's got that kind of weird artwork that only was around for a little while. Got this big tower of stacking blocks. Unfortunately, it's missing a couple blocks and they are a bit torn up. But again, found this in one of the Goodwill outlet bins. Couldn't resist just snagging it. Got some reward stickers, some learning cards. These again are just things that I find in the bins, old Hit era stuff. These were cool to find. These are some Hit era Viewmaster discs. They are James and the Red Balloon, Hershey's Chocolate Crunch, and Thomas and the Jet Engine, and I believe there's a duplicate of the James and the Red Balloon. These were all grouped together with a Viewmaster and about 55 other non-Thomas discs, and I got that whole set for about $3. This I was really excited about when I found it one morning. This is a puzzle block. This is from old 90s Britt Allcroft and Company style of packaging. It's completely sealed. This has never been opened before. In extremely good condition. I found this one at the 2nd Ave. I got this for about $3, I want to say. Down here we've got a lot of that classic Hit era Ghislaine stuff. Got a nice little alarm clock there. I'm not sure if it works. I haven't really put batteries in it yet, but found it for fairly cheap, so I thought I'd get it. And this little dinner set, which is really cute. I think I had some of this as a kid, but I found it, and normally you find this stuff. This is made by Picoware, I believe. Normally this kind of stuff is really scratched up because you've seen it go through dishwashers and being hand washed, and you know, kids with their forks and knives all over it. But this is all completely new. It's all unused. Nice little cup there. I can put some stuff in that on my desk or put it up on my shelf. And yeah, so I thought this was kind of cool. The whole bundle was like $3 or $4, so I figured why not. But it is really cool. People kind of forget sometimes how much Thomas merchandise does exist out there that isn't just the toy trains. And this is all stuff that I found within the last couple weeks. And there's tons more. I also find tons and tons of Thomas media in book form, all different years and styles. I like collecting these My First Thomas books. These tie in with the My First Thomas toys from Golden Bear that I showed off earlier. And I just really like the art. It's really cute. And some of this stuff just really, you know, it brings back my childhood. I remember reading these little books when I was younger, and the artwork is just so nice in them. So if I see them and they're fairly cheap, I'll usually pick them up. Usually never paying more than $1/4 a book. If you're lucky, you can also find DVDs. I collect the early model era DVDs. I'm trying to get a complete set of them. Occasionally I'll pick up a double, just in case the case is nicer, or sometimes, if you're really lucky, the insides, oh, not that one, but the insides will come with the inserts and all the original paperwork and stuff, which is really cool. You don't really see that too often. And then if you find one in a bin, sometimes they won't have their thing, but you know, it literally doesn't cost anything to put that in your bag. The way that it comes out with the weight, you're not even paying a nickel for it, so I'll use it for something. And then if you're really lucky, you can find VHS tapes, which I've been obsessed with collecting recently. So recently I found this Best of Thomas. I think this was the most expensive one that I bought, or I have bought. It was $4. I got this one at Goodwill. It's one of those ones where it includes a wooden railway engine. It was $1.97 at a Goodwill, and I've got a wooden railway Gordon that I might just slip in there for display purposes. And then if you get really lucky, you can find the old stuff. This was one that I found recently in very, very good condition. I was really happy to find that. It looks amazing. The cover has virtually no marks on it at all, and I got this, I believe, for 20 cents. It evened out to be. I think this is like the third one I've gotten of this, but my original one had a big tear in it. I found another one, but the box was really crinkly like about a year ago. So this is the third one that I own of this particular tape, and I'm really happy to. You can kind of see back there, I've got a large amount of Thomas VHS tapes and DVDs that go about a row back behind there. And one of these days, if you guys are interested, I will totally take all of those out and show you my whole VHS and DVD collection. Alright, let's finally get into some actual Thomases. So, first one up here I actually found on the Facebook Marketplace. This apparently takes steam, it takes water and it will steam. And I found that really intriguing. You put the water in there, there's a little smoke thing in there. Unfortunately, mine is missing a huge section in the bottom, and I believe that's where all the smoke is generated. Unfortunately, but it still is a very lovely looking Thomas. It looks very classic. It's got the white running board that everybody loves. It's got the molded whistles. It looks like one of those last classic style Thomases that they made before switching over. The next guy, I found this in a Goodwill outlet bin. I'm not sure which one this is. There's so many Thomases that look like this these days. They're big, they're chunky, they don't have the white, they've got the CGI face. They don't have any, stickers on for the doors, or sorry, for the windows or anything. The whistles are either non-existent or they're just stuck on the back. He's got a battery compartment that I'm too lazy to try to put anything into right now. And there's a little hole up top here, just like on this guy. So part of me thinks this one actually steams, but I'm not sure. So if anybody knows which one this is, that'd be great, because I have no idea. This guy I actually have a really funny story about. So me and my girlfriend were out in a place that we had never been before, and we pulled over at this antique shop, and she's like, there's not going to be any toys at this antique store. And I said, well, why don't we just park and we'll go look, and if there's nothing, we'll leave. That's fine. So we get out, we walk down towards the place, and there's this box outside of the store, and it says, free toys, please take us. And the only thing inside the box is this guy. This is a 2000 Tomy push-along Thomas. It's one of the ones that has the option to put kind of like a handle in the back here so you can push it along. I believe it made noises or something if you flip this switch and the batteries worked. But I'm not entirely sure. That might just be a release switch for the handle. It's It's got this nice grabbable handle up near the cab area, and he's one of the, like, they've made so many of these kind of push-along handle Thomases where you can take the top off. There's another older version of this that I've been after for years that I can't seem to find, but I was so happy to take this guy home. So I'll off the table there. I was so happy to take this guy home. Just really nice looking Thomas. One of the really good examples of Tommy's product that wasn't Plowrail or Trackmaster or anything like that. These are some smaller Thomases. This one I found at a Goodwill outlet. Again, he was in a bin, just not really doing too much of anything. I know I didn't have it, so I decided to snag him before he was sent off to the dump. I do like the sticker on the back there with the windows and the wheels and all that. I think that's really nice. I kind of like the sticker look to it. It's kind of rare to see that on CGI face Thomases, because this is very clearly a CGI face. This is a little plush guy who has a plastic running board and plastic wheels. He's interesting. I think he might have been bundled with a storybook or something. There's a smaller other plush Thomas that I know comes with some coloring books and bedtime books that they sell at Strasbourg. This one was really cool. I put this on Twitter when I found it. I had no idea what it was. But apparently, Learning Curve made these large wooden Thomas toys, and it was all by itself. They never made any more other than this Thomas. And I found it at a flea market for $3. So I decided to snag it. He's got this big coupler on the back, the nice windows, the coal bunker, the lamp. He's got all this lovely detail, and the eyes actually, there they go. They move back and forth when you roll them around. And I think this is such a nice Thomas. It's wood, it's heavy, it's a real nice toy, and you can kind of tell what year it is. I think they said 2008, and it definitely gives off sort of a 2008-ish vibe when you look at it, in my opinion anyway. The wheels, this definitely just screams blown up wooden railway. But I think that's cool. I really like this. This is another one of my favorites that I picked up over the past month or two. I really like this guy. This one is definitely going to have a special spot on my wooden railway shelf. Normally, I hate Thomases that have two wheels. I don't like these. I think it's really cheap when they make these kiddie toys that just have two wheels. But this one was really interesting. I found this one, again, at a Goodwill outlet, and the eyes actually move around and the mouth moves. I don't have any batteries in him at the moment, but he does work. In the future, during these videos, if you'd actually like to see me moving them around and turning them on and stuff, I can definitely do that. I have batteries. I just didn't really think about putting batteries in him before I made this video. But he does talk, and he moves around. When you hit these buttons, he says he's going to different destinations. And the mouth and the eyes move around as he goes, and it's really cool. And he's self-propelled, so he just kind of drives around and says, "Hey, I'm going here, bye-bye." So if he just had the middle wheel, this would be such a better toy. It's really unfortunate that they decided to skimp out on that wheel. Maybe it has to do with the design. Maybe the toy operates better when he doesn't have a wheel there, but in my opinion, it's just cheap. I hate buying anything that doesn't have the proper three wheels. It's just a pet peeve of mine. But that being said, this is a cute Thomas, and it's lovely that he talks and rolls around, and I love the way that they made the animatronics and the head move. So this one is okay in my book. These are some odds and ends at the end of my table, some Percy's to break up the blue Spam. This is one of those really fat ones that they had a couple years ago. I remember seeing these on the shelves. This is a Lionel Sir Topham hat, which is awesome because I have a Lionel vintage Thomas, and I also have a vintage conductor that goes with Sir Topham hat, which I found Sir Topham hat about a month and a half after I found the conductor, so I was very happy to reunite the two of them up on my shelf. This is a little wind-up Percy toy. Ertl made these back in the day. There's part of a gimmick set. I have a bunch of them from the set, and when you wind them up, they all kind of do different things. Percy has this little nub on the bottom of them there. I don't know if you can see it too well. but when that nub bounces on the ground, he kind of just like tilts to one side, turns around, and goes a different direction. And all of them are different. They all have different little gimmicks, and I realize I either never had the Percy one or it's completely lost to time. But I have Thomas and Terrence and Birdie and Bulgy and a couple others. So finding Percy, I found this for $1 at a flea market. It was really nice because I love these. They're cute, gimmicky things, and they have just fantastic faces. Definitely good faces. Classic Thomas toys. I posted about this one on Twitter a couple days ago, and finally someone figured out what this is. This is from a pull-along Thomas that came with a different truck, and I forget what you put in it. It was either cargo or people, but it was the two trucks and a Thomas, and you pulled the Thomas along, and as you would pull them along, the inside raises up and down like that. Not entirely sure why, but I found this at an outlet. He was sitting alone in the bin, and I saw the face and I freaked out because I've seen these online a couple times, and I really wanted at least the Thomas, if not the whole set, but I was very happy to find the truck. And last but not least, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I love the Thomas bath squirters. And now we're gonna get into some of the good stuff. This is some of the take and play and take along stuff that I've found over the past month. So this is an accumulation of some of the, again, I can't really tell the difference between the take along and the take and play. Take along was pretty much the last thing that I got into when I was a kid, and I never really got into the take and play, I guess, which was the next step of that. And I know take and play, I believe, was the one that changed over to the round magnets. And I never had those when I was a kid. I only had the ones that had these studded magnets on it. But anyway, I guess now is a good time to collect. They are very good quality toys, and so whenever I find them, I like to snag them up. But only if it's something that I don't have, because I don't really buy multiples of things I don't have on purpose. But if it is new, I definitely want one. So here is just a normal Thomas. He seems to have kind of a fat face. Sorry, fat face. This is another one. This one I recognize more. This one looks more about like the Thomases that I had when I was a kid, the take-along ones.
Bust my buffers!
Definitely an older voice in there. This is very pre-CGI.
Hello, I'm Thomas.
Yes, you are. Here's a holiday Percy. I don't have this one. I have a Thomas that has the little hat on his head, but I don't have the Percy one. This one was interesting. I actually found the Edward body, this top part, at a 2nd Ave near my apartment, and I found this tender at another 2nd Ave, completely isolated by itself. So I'm wondering if the two of them were split up at some point, but I reunited them. And this is the Talking Edward.
Blistering boilers!
This is more, I believe this was more of the later, because that's definitely a CGI voice. That's the voice Edward still has today, I believe. But I don't have an Edward. I don't have an Edward on my shelf. My original Edward was unfortunately lost when I was a child. So I don't have one. So now I'm really happy to have an Edward with that classic style cup layer that I can display proudly with the other engines. Here is Molly. Molly was another one of those engines that I never even saw when I was a kid. I never saw an episode with Molly in it, but I love her design. I think she's a fantastic looking engine, and lucky enough, I actually found her with the tender intact. You can hardly ever find them with the tender, so that was really cool. I was really happy to find her as a set. She was in the bag with Edward and one of the Thomases and the Percy, I believe. Here is one of the B variants of James. I believe this is from James Goes Buzz Buzz, which is a very old episode. But no tender, unfortunately, but that's okay. He's got lots and lots of bees all over him, which was not what happened in the episode. He only had one. But interesting face. I like the toys that have the face variants like that. his boiler could use a little tightening there. He's a little jiggly. And then, last but not least, two of the mini engines, Skarloey and Duncan. I already have a Duncan, but this one is speckled, so I believe this was one of the special ones that came with a playset or something, and he had like the mud on him or whatever. So it's a variant that I don't have, so I'm happy to have it. And I never actually had Skarloey, and I never realized how lovely the narrow gauge engines are. Duncan I did, because I've had Duncan forever. That was one of my first take-alongs, and I believe that's my only narrow gauge take-along that I ever had. But Skarloey is just so nice. I love it. I really want the other ones. I want to get all, 6, 7, however many characters they made. The number escapes my mind right now, but what a way to start it off with Skarloey. Just such a nice little toy. Such a lovely, like, squashed down version. Definitely not as good as the Ertl, but this is so cool. I love this. And here's two odds and ends that I found at the Goodwill outlets. My girlfriend actually found this one, which is just a little carriage, flatbed thing that you put cargo in, and a random Henry tender. And you can definitely tell that this is from the classic take-along toy because it is so heavy. This thing, it's so weighty. And I found it in a bin, and it barely cost me anything. So I already have a Henry, and he has a tender, but I figure if I ever get another one, I'll have a spare tender. Or if somebody needs one, I have a spare. I guess technically this is the last one, but this was so cool to find. This is a sealed take-along Percy and the Holiday car set. This is in such good condition, and I found this at a 2nd Avenue thrift store. Again, the same place that just bundles stuff together in the bags. This one was by itself, and I believe I paid about $5 for it, which is really nice considering the quality and the condition that this is in. It's in such nice condition. And again, I said earlier, I'm a sucker for the holiday stuff, so this was really nice to find. Hopefully, I can get the Thomas that's completely sealed to go with this to display together. I do have an open Thomas, but I don't have an open version of this Percy. I've never owned this before, but it's a very cool toy. And very, very nice to get a brand new version of it for very, very cheap. It's so cool, the gimmicks that they used to do back in the day. So this boxcar smells like peppermint, or sorry, this truck smells like peppermint because it's got candy canes in it. And then this door opens up, and there's cargo that moves around. And I don't believe Percy does anything, but he is covered with snow. All of them are kind of dusted with this white paint to make them look like they're covered in snow, which I always just thought was the coolest thing. Seeing this kind of stuff as a kid. And again, when I was a kid, they didn't make too many Christmas versions of the Thomas characters, so whenever one came along, it was always worth it to get it, in my opinion. Not to excuse my dishwasher in the background, what's going on right now, but these are the couple wooden items that I came across in my travels this month. We got a couple variations of Thomas there. Two with the same face and one with the this face. I forget the year. I know these are the older ones. And then we have this guy, which is one of my first Thomas toys for the wooden railway line. There were these big chunky versions. I thought they were pretty cute. Rosie, Daisy, and Emily for the other engines. And then over here we've got a rickety that is spinning around and very wobbly. Could use some fixing up. We've got a little rock crusher car here and a Sodor caboose. And then over here, just some random bits that unfortunately couldn't find the engine of Hero because I found the tender in one of the bins. But I looked for him and I couldn't find the engine, but I found his tender. And then just a random conductor and definitely a Thomas stop sign. I come across a lot of Trackmaster stuff in my travels through the outlet bins and the Goodwills and the 2nd Avs. Most of these were all found in bins, aside from the Thomases that came grouped together with other things. Back there you can kind of see the special narrow gauge coach. I believe it's a narrow gauge coach. And out of all these, I was really happy to find a Stepney. I've never had a Stepney before, so finally having one was really nice. Also, let's talk about track for a second. So, as you can see here, there's a little pile of track here. These are a couple different pieces that I found, and I don't know what it is about the outlets, but this track is everywhere. I seriously can't take an outlet trip without finding tons of this track. I didn't want to lay it all out, obviously, but this is just one box of the track that I found while digging through bins at Goodwill outlets. This is all, every single part of track in here is from a Goodwill outlet. I've never purchased any of this in a store. I've never gone out and bought this anywhere special. I've found all of that in Goodwill outlets. Same with the Trackmaster 2 track. There's less of it, but as you can see in there, there's a lot of different accessories and just different things that I've fished out of bins. There's a Gordon in there. Don't worry about him. But yeah, you find so much track for these guys laying around, including the blue Tomy track, which is harder to find, but you do find it occasionally. So Trackmaster is very popular in those bins, and me, who's trying to build up his Trackmaster collection, is very happy to have started to find some bits and parts to build a railway with.
There is a couple of interesting items that I picked up that are already on my shelf, and I don't really feel like taking them all off. There's a very cool lamp back there with a Thomas underneath, kind of hard to see, obviously. That is a water squirter sort of thing for outdoor activities. This is a bag of random blocks that originally came with a Thomas. Unfortunately, the Thomas was not in there, but I still got it because the bag's pretty cool. That is an art print that Jaden and I got together. Up here on top of my Erdl shelf, you can see there's a couple new additions, including the rare and elusive Jock. Finally got myself an Emily, so I'm very happy about those two. This was something very special that I didn't pick up off of a bin or anywhere local. I got this off of an app called Mercari, and Mercari is this really awesome buy-sell trade app that I have been enjoying its use for months now, and I picked up this very rare Thomas battery operated railway train set off of Mercari for, I think I got it for $10, which is an insanely cheap price. It's pretty much brand new in the box. The box is a tiny bit beat up in some spots, but overall the condition is great. And I also found some track packs on there, which I won't be opening because these are very old and rare, and I just wanted these for my collection. But it's very cool to see a Thomas system that not a lot of people really knew about. At least I didn't really know too much about it. And I got this for really cheap, so I'm very happy to have another piece of Thomas history in my collection. I've also managed to score some very rare and interesting Thomas and the Magical Railroad items this month, but I want to talk about that more later in a separate video. So you can see a little bit of what I've purchased now, but I'll go into depth more about that at a later time. So this was my total haul for the month of June, July, August, kind of the end of the summer, more so than anything. And this was everything I picked up. Starting in September, there will be a fresh new video showing off everything that I pick off during that month. And I think this will be good. I think, doing a video kind of month by month, showing off everything that I bring in from my collection and everything that I buy before I sell it, or anything that I plan to sell, and kind of talking about it in the video. So it's plentiful. There's lots of stuff to get out there. Again, 99% of all this stuff was from used stores, charity shops, Goodwill outlets, second halves, just places that you buy things that have already been loved and they need to go to a new home. So I feel good for picking all this stuff up and kind of rescuing it in a way. So that's about it, guys. If you have anything in this collection, in your own personal collection, let me know in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to hear about your thoughts on any of the items listed here, as I like to collect these things to kind of gain self-knowledge and to give knowledge to the community about different products that the Thomas people have made over the years. So let's talk about it. So that's about it, and I'll see all you guys in the next one. Bye. Bye.